5 dictatorships worse than North Korea. Number 1. Andr Hoja was super extreme, even by normal communist dictator standards. An almost fanatical follower of Stalin, Hoja left Russia when Stalin was succeeded by Khrushchev, mostly because he wasn't in the business of mass murder. For a short while, he allied with Chairman Mao's China, but he left them too as the Cultural Revolution finished. Yup, even one of the worst brutal communist regimes wasn't enough for him. The regime that he took up in Albania afterwards was unsurprisingly a scarily oppressive one. For the 40 years that he ruled over Albania, it was constantly on the nuclear red alert. A ridiculous amount of nuclear bomb shelters were built across the country, just so Hoja was always a short distance from one, just in case the Russians attacked. Oh, he also closed all the borders. No one could leave or enter, you'd get shot for trying. Number 2. Alright, Hoja was crazy, but Romania's Nicolae Ceausescu was just plain weird. He was known for being a total pompous tool with an ego so massive no other dictator can contend. Seriously, he literally demolished a majority of the historic center of Bucharest in order to build the People's Palace. It's so massive, 2 whole mountains had to be bulldozed just to get enough stone. He was famously not a tall man, but instead of just dealing with it like a normal person, he had all the stairs cut to fit his short little legs. Most normal people will trip on the stairs of the palace. And this giant display of lavishness was built during times when rates of malnutrition were rising in the country. The regime's secret police force were deeply feared across the country and was believed to have a massive number of informants. Any individual even thought to be subversive was at risk of being taken away or having their children taken from them. Number 3. Myanmar, known as Burma, has gone through a large political change in recent years. After 50 years under a military dictatorship, Myanmar has now moved towards democratic rule. Will it be successful? We can't say, but anything is better than what they had before. During its years under a dictatorship, it was one of the most repressed nations on the planet. Citizens were not even allowed to leave their own town without special permission. A law that has only been lifted in recent years. Even with permission, your chances on the road weren't high. Guards and officials were so notoriously corrupt, everyone was at risk of coercion and even death. Many concentration camps were built around the country, with people being thrown in them for minor crimes, including joke-telling. Humor wasn't popular around those parts. Things were worse in its government. A civil war raged across the country over the course of the 5 decades, with various separatist groups. It's in the running for one of the world's longest civil conflicts. Number 4. Equatorial Guinea spent years under the rule of Francisco Macias Nguema, who was definitely a total nutball. Ask someone to design the wackiest dictator ever, and you'd be given Nguema. He was extremely paranoid and was in constant fear of being assassinated, to the point where he mostly refused to enter the capital. He lived in a small hut with the entire national treasury under his bed. This wasn't good for citizens of the capital, Malabo, as the electricity would only be turned on when he was around. So for the majority of the time, they had no power. But living without power was for the lucky ones, as Nguema was known to chop anyone who crossed him into little pieces and feed them to sharks. Talk about a real-life supervillain. But that's not even the worst thing. He put a law into power declaring anyone who wore glasses would be executed. Many people were killed. But it's not all bad. He did everyone a favor in 1979 by dying after 11 years of being in power. Number 5. Mobutu Sese Seko, the former leader of Zaire, now known as the Democratic Republic of the Congo, had one simple goal: to beat every other world leader in terms of corruption, and he did it in style. As the country and its people became stricken by poverty, Seko was spending a ton of cash and natural resources on ridiculously lavish and ethically questionable items, like leopard skin hats. He was also hell-bent on removing any trace of previous colonialism from the country. Sure, you can't blame him for wanting that. The effect of colonialism on African countries wasn't overwhelmingly positive, but Ceausescu went all out crazy with it, forcing people with European-sounding names to change them. Tons of stuff was renamed accordingly, from cities to abstract concepts, and a strict uniform was put in place for public sector workers, a very Chairman Mao-esque military jacket. But despite loving Mao's wardrobe, Ceausescu was relentlessly opposed to communism, a fact that scored him a good relationship with Western leaders. Thanks for watching. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe for more videos like this one.